2011 Safety Conference webinar. Again, I'm Katie Parrish, Associate Publisher of Maximum Capacity Media, and your host for today's conference. Today is the fourth session of our 4-week event, which started on November 17th with a presentation from Tony Grote on fall protection. If you missed that session or last week's session, or the week before that, Dallas Dakin or Brad Bueller's, log on to www.safe-tconference.com to watch a video from the conference. I'd like to extend a special thank you to our sponsors, Skyjack, the Ohlot Group, and Aerial Work Platform Training and IPAF for their continued support of this event. Now in its 5th year, the Safety Conference maintains its objectives and commitment to the aerial lift industry. Our aim is to raise awareness of AWP safety, provide clarification on commonly asked questions and topics, unify industry efforts on safety, and ultimately help to save the lives of equipment operators and workers on North American job sites. Today's presenter is Rich Stollery, Safety Director for GAR Equipment of Aerial Lift, and he'll be talking on site inspection strategies with the ICE 100% plan. Before we begin, I'd like to point out that you can ask questions via the chat box on the GoToWebinar panel. We will also have a follow-up question and answer session following Rich's presentation. We are also recording today's presentation, and the video will be available after the event on the MaxCap Media YouTube channel and on the Safety Conference webinar website, which is, again, www.safe-tconference.com. I'll post that again at the end of the presentation, and if you have any questions, please feel free to chat those in the box as we go through the presentation. With that said, I'd like to pass the controls over to Rich, and he's going to go ahead and get started.
All right. Thank you, Katie. Hello, everyone. Thank you for taking some time out of your busy schedules to take a different look at workplace inspections. My name's Rich Stollery. If you don't know me, I've been the Safety Director and Asset Protection Manager at GAR Equipment Corporation since October of 1999. We are headquartered in South Plainfield, New Jersey, and we have shops in Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania, and Allentown, Pennsylvania.
Oh, before you get started, go ahead and share your screen if you can.
Click on Show My Screen?
Yes. There you go.
Got it?
Yes.
All right. I've served on the ANSI A92 main committee for 11 years and 3 of the subcommittees as well, and I was also on the risk management committee for AIS Industries for 3 years. I have personally trained over 7,000 operators, both in industrial and construction environments. Little background there. See if I can get this to, there we go. All right. The ICE 100 plan is a fantastic way of getting your trainees and your operators to inspect their work site. A few years ago, I was at a safety seminar in Texas, and I had the good fortune to attend a talk presented by James H. Smith. He's a vice president at JLG Industries. On that day, he discussed the ICE 100 plan, and it hit me hard, right in the brain. You ever sitting in a conference or a seminar and other people just kind of falling asleep and something hits you? Well, that's what it was for me that day. The one thing that really stood out with me was how simple it is to actually implement it. And if you can make it simple, people are going to do it. It's one thing to stand in front of a group of trainees and talk safety. It's another thing to impart the concept to them with a mechanism that they can use to make it a reality. Okay? ICE 100 actually gives the trainees a simple yet effective way to inspect the work site before they use aerial work platforms. And if you can get them to do it, you're going to save lives. I've instituted this concept into my training program on both aerials and forklifts with a 0 accident record. And I tell my trainees, James gave birth to the plan. I'm like the foster father. I'm kind of raising it and bringing it up, you know, feeding it, and taking it to soccer practice and everything else like you do with a kid. Allow me to outline why I think this particular plan is so crucial to job site safety when people are in the air. For some reason, my computer is taking forever to. There we go. Acronyms in training make things simple. They're fun and clever. They're easy to remember. Our military trains in acronyms. They use a lot of them. My brother's a retired Marine Corps colonel. He still talks in acronyms. He's been out of there for 7 years. Training operators can be difficult, especially with safety, which many people consider to be boring or ho-hum. If a trainer can make a presentation interesting, there stands a better chance of information retention. What I like about it was being in acronym form, it's easy to retain, makes it easy to implement. James breaks the workplace inspection concept into 4 easy steps called ICE 100 or ICE 100. I remember taking notes and thinking, this is something I could easily relate to my trainees. Anyone can remember the word ICE. Since you can remember the word ICE, it's only a small step to remembering the 3 words that are associated with each letter. The I in ICE stands for inspections. Every aerial lift forklift manufacturer, ANSI, any safety program that is worth its salt requires operators to inspect their work site. Yet I see training companies, rental houses, and general contractors put very little emphasis on this issue. They go and get a trade magazine and read the accident pages. Over 50% of the accidents are due to lack of workplace inspection. Now, I'm not downplaying machine inspection. If you can see here on the left in the center articles here, these were both lack of machine inspection. This one failed, and this one the outriggers failed on. And the one on the right was a tip over with a telehandler where he had that slope over there. It boomed up too high and tipped him over backwards. He was working with gravity instead of against it. Machine inspection is important. I'm not throwing that out the window, but in my opinion, I think workplace inspection is where you're going to get the most bang for your buck. You still got to do your machine inspections, absolutely, but do the workplace inspections that have really been skipped. A lot of people skip them and don't put the proper emphasis on them. All right. If an operator drives his lift into a saw cut or a hole in the ground, he didn't inspect his work site. There is no other answer. All right. He should have known about the rapids and changes in elevation, or Richies as I like to call them, before he began to operate the lift. And you got a couple right there. You got a curve there, curve here where they went off. To these machines, that's a rapid change in elevation. That will take you down. This one here, this was in Newark, New Jersey, the Prudential Arena, the Devil's Arena. Got any hockey fans out there? My guy's booming down, and he hits this building structure that goes all the way around the room. He should have known it was there. He should have dealt with it. He hits it, keeps leaning on his controller, and picks the front end of that machine right up in the air. The hydraulics have to go somewhere. They had another machine there. They're up and rescued him. And everybody I talked to, I was not there that night. It was at night, but everyone I talked to said as soon as he hit the ground, he disappeared, which tells me he would have failed the drug test. And, another discussion for another day. All right. If an operator hits a power line, he did not inspect his work site, period. There's no other explanation. So first, an operator has to be willing to take a few minutes to walk the area he's going to be working and inspect it. And when you present ICE to him, it's very simple. He can remember it and he'll do it, as opposed to just standing up there and telling him to inspect his work site. He's heard it a million times, and they don't do it. These two here are hot lines. Man, this guy bumped his head on a hot line. This guy was stealing copper. He won't do that again. You know, if you're going to steal, you shouldn't take things that don't belong to you. If you're going to, don't take it off a hot line. And this poor guy here, his name was Justin Walker, Tennessee. It appears as though he had telescoped out. He wanted to lay that stuff down on top there, and he hit them 2 lines. Now, the garbage company didn't do him any favors by putting that dumpster underneath the power lines like that. But Justin had an obligation to himself and to his family to inspect his work site. I'm telling you, if he had knew about the ICE 100 program, and if he did it, he'd be alive today. He would have iced that job, looked up, seen them power lines, and made other arrangements, either had the garbage company come back and move that, or not go as high, or attack it from a different angle. But unfortunately, he did not, and he is no longer with us. Power lines, overhead obstacles, overhead moving equipment like this here. You got your operators right there. He's moving along with it, but in a lot of places, the stuff is up tight to the sky. People that work there hit the button, they send it. Nothing's ever in the way, because there's just nothing in the way. It's up in the air. You come in with a scissor lift or a boom lift, all of a sudden you're going to be in the way. You're going to get hit. In a case like that, you want to get your boss, Get the people that work there, personally go over there, lock that thing out, tag it out, so it doesn't kick on when you're up in the air and get knocked over. And obviously power lines are a major problem with these machines when you're up in the air. The first step with icing the job is really simple. Go to where you're going to be working and look up. Oh, that's tough, huh? Imagine that. Looking up into the area where you're going to work before you elevate into that area. A lot of people don't. What are you looking for? The number one hazard is power lines. Are there any lines up there? Are they hot? How do you know they're hot? ANSI says proper personnel must de-energize those lines, ground them, or move them before you work in that area. What else is there? Overhead cranes, fans, manufacturing equipment, building structures, vegetation, other aerial lifts. What's there, and how can I maneuver safely around those obstacles? The next step is even easier than the first one. Look down. Go to the area where you're working and look down. What's my surface like? You're looking for any kind of rapid changes in elevation, potholes, cement pads, saw cuts in the floor, puddles, loading docks, curbs, soft spots, drain pipes, covers over any underground installations. And that's a tough one. You know, stuff that's underground, you're not aware of it because you can't see it with the naked eye. If that's your suspicion, contact the proper authorities, get some drawings or some underground schematics, which could show you areas of working surface that will not hold heavy machinery. Some ground surfaces have old cisterns and septic tanks, which have long been forgotten. They could be a real problem to someone up in an aerial lift. There you got these guys here hit an old pipe underneath. The sidewalk gave way, and that's what happened to them. Luckily, it was not that high in the ground. There's some overhead obstructions. Generally, you see, I clicked that last week on a construction site close here, and this is a real problem. You go by there with a boom or a rough terrain scissor lift, that gives way. You're going over. All this is to be taken into consideration when you're icing your job. Here's some more. Every construction site has these around the I-beams, right? You drive that scissor lift, elevate it into that, you're going to have a problem. Tell me, how deep is that puddle? That's right, we don't know. Before you go driving through it in a boom or a scissor, a rough terrain scissor, go and find out how deep it is. Loading docks, big problems. Always look at that drop. That's a big drop that'll cause you some extreme problems with any kind of an aerial. And the little pads here, these cement pads, you hit this thing from this level, it could cause you a problem, especially if you're elevated. You drive off of it from the upper level, from off the pad onto that. That might as well be the Grand Canyon to a 19-foot scissor. You're going over, especially if you hit it with one wheel. She's going to tip. Pothole protection, I don't know. I don't think that'll help you there. It might, but I don't think so. We don't want to risk it, that's for sure. All right, I got a video here I'm going to jump to. There's a couple things going on here. See your boom lift moving along here? There's our operator. Now he's doing a couple things right. One, he's up high enough to see over the machine. He's not working, he's moving the machine. And when you move a machine, you want to be able to go in rapid speed. He's moving it from one end of a job site to another. So he's up in the air, that's good. He can see over it. But he didn't inspect his work site. He's got that van following him. Why not take 5 minutes, get in the van, drive through first, and see what you got to deal with, okay? And another thing is travel speeds, right? That's one of the ANSI 37 operator warnings and instructions, right? Your travel speeds will always be dictated by the job site conditions. There is no other answer for that either. You know, how fast can I go? It depends on your job site conditions, okay? Like when 3 adults and a 3-year-old are walking around the block, the 3-year-old is the one who's going to dictate how fast they go. That's your limiting step. It's the same thing with travel speeds on job sites. Watch what happens to this guy when he hits that second set of railroad tracks. It ain't pretty. Oh, that hurt. Now, he didn't hit the ground because he had his harness on, but he hit them rails twice, and he's hanging there. It looks like a guy in the van wants to bump him. Not good at all. Look at this. Oh, come on. There we go. Wind speeds are important. Brad Beeler touched on it last week. check your wind speed for that particular working day. Most cranes shut down 28 to 34 miles per hour of wind speed. Cranes have anemometers on them, wind speed measuring devices. I've been training people for 12 years. I've yet to see an anemometer on a job unless it's on a crane. I've never seen any anemometers on job sites. They're always on a crane. We all recall the death of Declan Sullivan at Notre Dame last year, and he was videotaping football practice at steady wind speeds in the 30-mile-an-hour range and gusts into the 50s. And, his lift was blown over with him in it, causing his death at the age of 21 years old. And that is plain sad any way you cut it. Icy conditions are important. We're going to be slip sliding around. Soft mud sinking in like that, that's a big problem. Next one. The C stands for communication. You ice the job, inspect, communicate. Job site communication is a key factor in getting all employees home at the end of the day, and it's a critical component of the ICE 100 plan. The inspection's over, you discovered some hazards that must be addressed before you work from an elevated position. Now it's time to inform others on the job site what was discovered during the inspection. If you work with your partner or a buddy, a buddy system, that's the first person you want to talk to, all right? He's probably going to be your ground person or your spotter, and you're placing your life in his hands. Plus, you can get a second opinion from him and enlist him to help you communicate to others on the job site. Before you spread the news to the on-site safety professionals that are present, stop and consider as to whether you should flag, barricade, or cone off the area before you walk away from it. Right? You don't want to be walking away telling somebody else about the problem, and someone else comes there and starts to work. Cone it off and make it obvious, like these pictures here. You couldn't make that any more obvious. So stay away from that, and this guy can make his pick right there without getting close to that loading dock. Now go straight to the top, be it on phone, worksite walkie-talkies, which are very popular today, face-to-face in a trailer or an office of the safety people running your job site. Walk in there. Let them know what you discovered during your inspection. Give the details as to the location, the nature of the hazard, the severity of the hazard, and if you have any ideas on how to remedy the hazard. One of the reasons I love the ICE 100 plan, it makes it easy for lift operators to communicate the hazards. I've trained 7,000 people on aerial lifts and forklifts and discovered human nature is lazy. And it's true. I'm guilty. We all are at one point or another. It's one thing to point out a hazard. In other words, stay away from that trench or that power line. But it's another thing to get the important information out to other people in the area. With the ICE 100 plan, communication is built into the, which makes it less likely that the operator will keep it a secret. All right? He won't sit on it. He won't just let it go. Even an email or a text message sent to all job site foremen would help, since they can then inform their workers at break or lunch. And if it's a time-critical hazard, they can jump to their feet right away and get around and let other people know about it. Communication. E stands for eliminate. So we've gone through ICE 100. Inspect, communicate, eliminate. Get rid of all hazards discovered during the inspection that you communicated to other people on the job site. Debris. Clean up. A clean job site is a safe job site. All right? Remove all the debris in the route of travel of your lift. OSHA Construction Industry 29 CFR 1926 subpart C. Housekeeping calls for debris to be removed at regular intervals, and garbage and other waste shall be disposed of at frequent and regular intervals. A clean job site is a safe job site, again. Holes, ditches, excavations, drop-offs, loading docks, pardon me, curbs, puddles, and similar hazards are all placed under a category I like to call RICHIES, rapid changes in elevations. I named it after me. All right? All RICHIES should be examined carefully, and determination must be made as to whether or not they are a tip-over hazard to the AWP in use. A rough terrain boom lift can operate where an indoor scissor cannot, such as a shallow saw cut in a cement floor. Should these RICHIES be declared a hazard to the lifts on site, then caution or danger tape should be erected immediately or barricades put in place to prevent the lifts from getting close to the edge. Outside, The edges of trenches and ditches are especially critical to rough terrain units. Often they cannot support the weight of a large lift. They give away, causing a collapse and a tip over. Soil conditions are to be given extra attention during the elimination process. Muddy or frozen ground can be very tricky to an AWP operator, and people putting outriggers on soft spots in the ground is another problem. You know, they give away, tip over. Cones are a great way to warn AWP operators of hazards present. They've been around forever, but people don't use them. You know, they're sitting in the trailer. Cones should be used to eliminate and warn operators whenever you're working near roads, streets, or common job site, vehicular traffic areas. When reading the accident pages in Lift and Access magazine, almost every issue has someone that was hit by a vehicle. You know, working too close to a road, wasn't coned off. Last month they had a guy that was hit on a lift and he was hit by a train. I tell my trainees to put the cones up. They may discover that some people will walk right through them. It's true. But put them up anyway. Work defensively. Inspect, communicate, eliminate. Power lines are the mother of all job site hazards. We covered them a little bit already. We're going to cover them again. Hit a hot line and you will develop health problems very rapidly. In ANSI 2006 A92 regulations, in 2006 we adopted OSHA's MSAD, the Minimum Safe Approach Distance Chart, which calls for operators to keep a distance of 10 feet up to 50 kV. Lines that are 50 kV, 10 feet. The hotter the line, the further away operators must work to be safe. In New Jersey, where I reside, I do most of my training. I train for the local power company. Their substation workers and relay technicians tell me the big high voltage lines outside can arc up to 20 feet on a rainy day. I mean, you could be 20 feet away from them, they'll still reach out and electrocute you. That's pretty scary. Operators should be aware of any cables or chains or similar securing devices that are hanging from your lift. Should they brush against or come in contact with a hot line, the electricity will obviously be transferred to the lift and to the operator. In OSHA 1910-178I, the forklift regulations, it is suggested that the power company be called in and power rerouted or turned off before working in that area. That's great advice, and it would create a safer work site, but I rarely, if ever, see that happen. Power line hazard elimination should be involved the on-site safety professionals present, the general contractor, any on-site electrical contractors that are there, and if you need to, call the local power company, have the officials come in and be kept in the loop of any power line discussions or decisions. Avoidance is the final stage of the ICE 100 concept. 100% stands for 100% avoidance of all hazards on the job site. Not 90%, not 50%, 100%. Steep slopes are a big one. Too often accidents and the resulting injuries or fatalities are the result of operators being in the wrong place at the wrong time. Steep slopes come to mind. If a slope is too steep on Monday, chances are it'll be too steep on Friday as well. And when the guys are going to want to, get out a little bit early, skip lunch, we'll get out a little early, we can work over there today, Work areas deemed to be hazardous are to be avoided 100% all the time. Work areas with a large amount of rapid changes in elevation or ridges should be avoided until they are filled in, rough terrain or barricaded off. Areas of new excavations are big trouble for rough terrain aerial work platforms because they often, the freshly excavated soil isn't properly tamped down or given enough time to settle and create a stable support surface for the lift in operation. Bodies of water should be avoided until they determine that they do not exceed safe operating level. And with winter approaching, the temptation to work on icy surfaces will be present. The bottom line is 100% avoidance of hazardous areas until that hazard is eliminated. That's the ICE 100. I'll tell you the sweet thing about it is, guys, people on the job site can remember it and they can implement it. I've been on job sites where I've trained people and I'm walking around doing something else and a guy walks over to me, points his finger at me, and says, ICE 100, and he walks away. And when that happens, I know I've done my job. That's about it, Katie. You want to kick this open to questions?
Sure thing. Thank you for doing that. We have a couple questions from attendees, and first of all, I think we've touched a lot on aerial lifts, but many of these equipment operators on the call also have forklifts, cranes, excavators, different types of equipment. Would you suggest that these techniques be used on this other equipment, or are there other specific job site tools that they can use?
There's other tools, but this would absolutely work for that stuff. I do it in all my rough terrain forklift classes and my industrial forklift classes. I even do it at home. You know, I have 3 daughters. 2 of them moved out. The other one, you know, works, goes to school at night, and got a boyfriend. So it's usually just me and the dog hanging around. And if I get hurt, there's nobody there. So I say to myself, can I get hurt here? I inspect it. I communicate with myself a little bit. And if I can eliminate something, I eliminate it. Yeah, absolutely. It works with forklifts. It'll work with pretty much anything, but definitely anything up in the air, be it freight or people. Absolutely. Okay.
So you don't stand on a chair when you change a light bulb?
Oh, I run and get the ladder.
Right. We have a question from one of our attendees. What's the best practice to conduct familiarization training for unique aerial lift equipment?
Well, according to ANSI, familiarization consists of the location of the manuals, the purpose and function of each control, and any safety devices that are specific to that machine. Keep in mind, familiarization is after an operator has been trained. He's to be familiarized with the machine that he hasn't previously operated. You've got to have the machine there, for one, to go to the manuals and show them to him, show him where to read them. Then you go over all the safety features. I start from the bottom and I work my way up. Hit the lower control box, show them that, show them pothole protection, tilt alarm, inspect it, look underneath the machine, the horizontal surfaces underneath of it, the base of the machine for any kind of leaks, any kind of collection of fluids there. Then I move up to the top of the machine, show them the upper control box, how that works. You know, show them the anchor points, pothole protection, back down the bottom again. The locks for any extension decks if it's scissor lift, any other safety features that it has. And I also implore them to take it up and to test the turtle speed. You know, you don't want to be 19 feet in the air and hit your controller on a scissor lift and find out that the turtle speed isn't working. You want to run it up in the air and test that as well. Do it right at the job site. That's how I do it. My drivers do familiarizations every day. And I've been doing quite a few of them lately too.
Great. The next question for that is, what's the best way to document training, and what minimum elements should be covered besides operational controls?
Training, you're saying. I would go to well, there's a lot of great training programs at JLG has a great one, Skyjack, AWP. I use an older one. I've modified it somewhat because it's taken directly out of the ANSI standards. I cover all 37 operator warnings and instructions during my program because I don't want anyone getting hurt. They all have great programs. I would stick with that. Stick with ANSI and find a program that covers all those 37 operator warnings and instructions. And what was the rest of the question? I'm sorry.
What minimum elements should be covered besides operational controls in a training program, I think?
Workplace inspection is huge. I hit that hard. Machine inspection, you got to look your machine over. There's 2 parts to that. We all know that. Well, maybe we don't all know that. There's the walk around, and then there's the operational. You know, you want inspections, you got to know your machine is in good shape, and you got to know your work site. That's what we're talking about here today. Ice the job. I hit that real hard with my guys because I believe that's where you're going to make the most difference. You can get the guy, again, if you can get the guys to inspect their work site, you can reduce these accidents by at least 50%. Because look at the accident pages in Lift and Access magazine. You know what? Half of them are to lack of workplace inspection. If the guy tips the machine over, chances are he didn't inspect his work site. He should have known whatever tipped him over was there. Hit the power line, he didn't know about it. He gets caught, you know, about a month ago here in New Jersey, in Morristown. We had 2 guys who were inspecting the roof of a church. They jammed a 120-footer up there. They had to get a crane to get them down because they went up in the air and the tilt alarm locked it out, and they couldn't get it down. I would hit workplace inspection very hard in a training program. There's a lot of great programs out there. And if you're in my area, call GAR Equipment, 1-800-272-1146. Plug.
Yes. Shameless plug.
What else you got?
Let's see. Everyone's pretty quiet today. Anyone else have any other questions? We're very, very, very shy today. It must be the holiday coming up. So with that said, we don't have a whole lot. Is there anything else you want to go over?
Nope, that pretty much covers it. Thank you.
Okay, great. Well, I appreciate everyone coming on again. This was our 4th week of the Safety Conference webinar. And let me pull up my other screen real quick, and you'll get that email address. You'll get my email address. If you have any questions, you'll have that website. And also you can visit our YouTube channel and watch some of these videos again. What's your number again? And I'll send it out to everyone. Rich.
My number,
yes.
800-272-1146.
I sent it out in the chat box to everyone. If you need Rich's expertise, let him know. I'll pull my screen back up just for a few minutes, and you can get that web address again.
Thank you.
All right. Does that work right? Okay, great. With that said, everyone have a great holiday. Please let us know if there's anything else. I'd also like to make mention that we plan to start doing monthly webinars in 2012. My email address is at the bottom. If there's anything in particular that you are interested in hearing about, please let me know. I'm very much open to ideas and suggestions. And if there's anything else that you all need from Listen Access, please let me know. Otherwise, have a great holiday and Happy New Year. Thanks. Thanks, Rich.
All right, you got it.